Hi, I'm Sandy Vasher, and I am one of the Word Stitch girls. And today I'm doing a video not on words, but on stitches. And this is because if you watched our previous video, you know that we are big on sewing projects and creativity and how that sort of helps you come into your writing knowing how to accomplish things. So this segment is called the Simple Stitch. And basically our goal here is to show you simple sewing projects or just craft projects generally that you can complete quickly, that will give you a sense of accomplishment and train your brain to finish things, and also hopefully give you some really useful stuff as a writer. What we're doing today is a rice pad. And the reason that this is useful when you are a writer is that we hunch a little bit over our screens all the time. And for me personally, I actually have a pinched nerve because of this. So I have been in need of freezer pads and heating pads, and you can really never have too many of these. So I'm going to show you how you can create your own rice pad that you can then put in your freezer or put in your microwave and use to protect your very sore neck, which you may have, especially after NaNoWriMo. So let's get started. Okay, so today what we are making on our Simple Stitch Sunday is a rice pad, and these are really easy to make. It should take you no longer than half an hour to make, but you're going to need a couple of supplies. So what you'll need is some scrap fabric, like this. And this is a really small piece of scrap fabric, no bigger than like a fat quarter. Make sure it's cotton, because you're going to be putting this into the microwave, and you want it to be able to withstand that. And then you'll need rice, and maybe about 8 cups are good. That's 4 right there. It depends on how much you want to fill your rice pad with. Essential oils, if you want your rice pad to smell really nice, although just FYI, the essential oils do sort of fade out over time, so if you don't have any, it's not that big of a deal. Pins, needles, something to cut with, and also you'll need your sewing machine and your iron. And that's what we're gonna start with for this project. Okay, so as far as cutting goes, a fat quarter is going to give you quite a large rice pad if you want one. And really these can be as big or as small as you want. What I like to do is sort of fold my fabric into approximately the length or width that I want the rice pad, and then sort of visualize just about how big I want that thing to be. And what you want to keep in mind is you are going to be sewing up some edges here. So this thing is going to end up maybe half an inch smaller on all sides than what you cut it. So right now for me, I'm actually going to make 2 rice pads out of this piece of fabric, and I'm basically going to do it just by cutting this right down the center. So let's do that. Just even out these edges. Cut down the center. Okay, so now you can see that I have 2 cutouts here, and these are about 12 inches wide, and then they are 17 inches long. So I'm expecting to get rice pads out of these that are about 12 inches, well, maybe 11 and a half inches long and about 8 inches wide. And again, this one piece of fabric is going to make 2 of these. So that's your cutting. When you're done cutting, you want to press down this edge. So go over to your ironing board and just give those a quick press. Okay, so now we are going to want to sew the edges together with the fabric right side together because we're going to be making a little pocket here. And what you want to think about when you're sewing is that basically you are looking to create like a pocket that's a little bit longer than it is wide. And you want to sew along the edges that will make it so that you have just one edge left at the top, and it should be the shorter edge. So it could be that the way that your fabric folded out, you have the fold here and 2 edges to sew here. For me, I've got my fold here, and the edges that I'm going to sew are here and here. And the important thing is that you just end up with one open edge, and that it is the smaller one that you could have. And then to make this happen, I'm just going to pin these edges together. This does not have to be super precise unless you are making them for gifts, because all that I am doing with this is putting it on my own neck. So I'm just going to pin. Nice and easy, and then I am going to stitch along those sides. Now this is just a straight stitch here that I'm doing. You could make it some kind of other thing, but you really don't need to. Just a nice simple stitch, 1/4 inch seams. And just make sure that you back tack at the end there, because we want a nice sturdy seam. And one more little tip, since we are rolling this and folding it over, I'm going to just snip my corners here to make this thing a little easier to turn inside out. And then we are going to press those seams open and turn the thing over. give it a little press here too, just to make things nice and clean. Now, this is basically what our rice pad is going to look like, but we're going to need to fill it and stuff the top edge. So in order to do that, I'm just going to roll the top here about 1/2 inch in and finger press it, and then also iron that down. And that is so when I do sew the top edge, I've got kind of a clean edge to work with. And again, this does not have to be super precise, but obviously if you're making it for, like, you know, a friend, your grandma, somebody who you want to think of you as organized, then you might want to make that seem a little bit prettier. But I am making this for myself. So, all right, so we've got our rice pad all ready. You can pin these edges down just to make sure that they stay together when you fill the bag, and that is what I am going to do, and then we're going to talk about filling. Okay, so as far as the filling goes, how much you end up putting in is going to depend on just how stuffed you want your rice pad. If you want those essential oils in your rice, you want to just sprinkle a few of those drops in before you fill the bag up. Vacuum comes in really handy for this kind of job. Or do this in like another little bowl, or I don't know, put some wax paper on. Don't do it quite the way that I'm doing if you don't want to clean up a lot of rice. And when you are filling this thing up, I find that using something like these little Pyrex things that have the lips that make it easier to pour are always best. So that is 4 cups of rice. I'm going to want a little more than that. So okay, that's about good. And notice that you don't need this thing to be like stuffed up to the top. So that was probably about 6 cups of rice that I put in there. I'm not going to put any more in because when you use the actual bag, the rice is going to flatten out a little bit. And also because I want these edges to be pretty easy to sew. And speaking of that, when you are done with the rice itself, I recommend pinning the top together and doing that before you go to sew the top together. And do not be shy at this stage about using lots of pins, because this rice is going to want to escape. You don't want it all over your sewing machine. Alright, so we have our top edge pinned and our bag stuffed with rice, and now our next step is just to sew across the top of that edge. So let's do it. Okay, so now we're going to sew the top edge, and this can be a little tricky because there is going to be rice that wants to escape, so you want to try to keep the rice down near the bottom end of that bag. And definitely make sure that you have back tacked here because we don't want rice escaping. later on. And if you're having a little trouble, it's probably because the fabric's a little heavier. So if you need to, you might have to just do a little walking there manually, but hopefully yours will go right through nice and easy. And again, a zipper foot is something that would make this potentially easier, but since this is a simple stitch, and I'm being a little lazy about it, I am not using a zipper stitch, a zipper foot. Okay, now we could stop there, but I like to have a little bit of a cleaner edge, so I'm going to zigzag across the top of that edge just to close it in. Okay, and we are done. One nice rice pad made. Okay, so that is it. We now have our finished rice pad. And so what you can do with this is heat it up in the microwave for 1 to 3 minutes. If you need a heating pad, it makes really nice, like, moist heat. Or stick it in your freezer for a couple hours, and now you have an amazing ice pack, which you can use to soothe those neck muscles that you are probably hurting a little bit by hunching up your screen. And by the way, it's sometimes useful to think about your posture while you're writing. We do a lot of writing, especially during Nano, so keep that back straight and that neck back as much as you can, and try to avoid injury while you are writing your novel. And thanks for watching this simple stitch. I hope it was useful. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments, and I will try to get back with you. Thanks so much. Bye.